What's going on, guys? Whether you're looking at buying scratch resistant sealer or you've already purchased it and supported us, I want to say thanks and I very much appreciate it. As I may have sent you here from a DM, an email, somewhere else, because we get a lot of questions, and trust me, there are a lot. So I went in and took some notes of all the most common questions that we have. We're going to cover all of those and give you the answers that you need so you guys know exactly how to use scratch resistant sealer and when to use it. So guys, before we hop into all these questions and kind of go into some of the details in my experience, I want to let you guys know about something that's going to come up in this video. There's a lot of questions you're going to have probably about these cleats. How do we make them flexible? How do we make them durable so we can do stuff like this? That's not super related to scratch resistant sealer. We now actually offer a series of ebooks, which you can actually grab your first one down below in the link for free. We want to go ahead and make a manual or a reference guide for you guys, because I know it's hard for you guys to pull up a video, skim through it, watch the ads when you're trying to just get the work done. So we've actually made a resource of ebooks that we treat as a manual or guide that you can download as a PDF on your phone. So if you're trying to customize these cleats and you can't remember the second step on how to make these super durable and flexible, you can just look it up on your phone, go to the table of contents, find that section, and we have 4 different ebooks for you. You can go ahead and grab your first one today for free, and there'll actually be a special offer there for you guys for a limited time. So go ahead and check that link down below, but let's go ahead and hop into this video. To save you guys some more time, I went ahead and took the time to make some links down in the description of this video. You can fast forward to the different questions and sections that you have. However, I would at least read all of those in the description and click the ones that you need to see or watch the entire video. Let's go ahead and get to some questions here. So I'm going to just go ahead and go through my list. I went through all my comments, my emails, DMs, a bunch of questions, my old YouTube videos, different YouTube videos where people ask random questions, and I combined 6 or 7 of the most common ones. Some of them kind of blend together, but these are the questions that we get very, very often. Everything else that you have a question on should be covered in our tutorial video. Again, you can check that out above. But let's quit wasting your time and go and hop into question 1 here. Far and away, the most common question that we get is, does it work on soles? We kind of hurt ourselves here because you'll see we have a bunch of videos of customers scratching the bottom of their soles after they've painted it. And yes, it does work perfectly on that. Again, that's why you're able to test that, and we show that in the tutorial video. However, when painting actual soles that's going to be contacting the ground while you're walking, there is nothing strong enough to hold up to rubbing against concrete, wear, your body weight, and everything that's applied to the soles. You need to apply some type of protection on the bottom. Now, please note, the sides here, like this rubber toe cap, all this exposed rubber here, that you're not going to be able to wrap with any type of sole protection, scratch resistant sealer is perfect for that. It's going to keep those areas intact. If you've ever noticed or seen somebody who's painted soles before and they put some type of sole protection on the bottom, this is the first part that starts to go. The bottom will actually stay pretty protected, but these sides here are what scratch resistant sealer is really going to protect, because these will be the first areas that will start to chip if you do that. So when using scratch resistant sealer, I recommend going through all the steps again in that tutorial video for these sides, but on the bottom you could do maybe 1 or 2 rotations and then go ahead and apply some type of protection onto the sole. On the same note, I want to use this cleat here because I have a bunch of different examples. This one's actually taped up right now as we're customizing it, but you've seen a lot of people customize the bottom of the cleats or the spikes and they paint those. That is simply cosmetic. Scratch resistant sealer will help hold up a little more on the sides, but again, these pieces are actually digging into the grass or the turf or whatever they're playing on, whether it's baseball, football, soccer, or lacrosse, it doesn't matter. This is simply cosmetic on the bottom because you cannot put a sole defender on the bottom of these, especially if you're going to be playing sports in them. You wouldn't want to do that anyway. So anything you see on the bottom of a cleat or a sports shoe that's being worn is not going to hold up because the ground is going to tear that apart regardless of what's on there. As a side note, when customizing cleats or anything that's going to be worn with an exposed sole, your best bet is to find a sole that's going to fit the custom up top. So if you need a chrome or a gold or a black plate, make sure you get a base shoe that will work on the upper, but really focus on that sole, as you can pretty much customize everything else on the top to make that look good. So the next common question that we have here is, can I add a finisher after? So scratch resistant sealer is naturally matte. We took a long time to find that matte finish that looked really factory and really clean. Not overly matte, but there's no gloss at all. This is especially important when you're working with cleats. Again, with the synthetic material on here on the upper that you find on a lot of football cleats, soccer cleats, sports cleats, even a lot of basketball shoes nowadays are having this synthetic material. Again, we cover that fully down below in the description. I have a link to our ebooks. We cover synthetics entirely, start to finish, how to prep, how to paint, how to finish, and how to use scratch resistant sealer to make these scratch proof. However, when using scratch resistant sealer and you need more than a matte finish, you can definitely go over that with a regular finisher. As long as you do the prep and procedure again in our ebooks or our other tutorials you can check out, a bunch of links and good stuff in the description, you can 100% go back with a finisher and finish over that, whether you need a gloss, a satin, or something different. As long as the procedures were done properly and your paint is flexible, you're free to put a finisher over the top of your choice. Whether that's Krylon, Angelus, or some other type of aerosol or different finisher, they all should be fine as long as they work with acrylic paints. So you might be thinking, why don't I just use a finisher? If you've seen our videos, the scratch resistant sealer is going to protect against scratches and scuffs. And that keyword is protect, because finishers are not going to offer protection. A finisher like Angelus, Krylon, again, any other finisher, is simply providing a finish look. A finish, whether it's matte, satin, gloss, or somewhere in between. Scratch resistant sealer isn't so much a finisher, although if you check out our video, you can use that as a finisher for more protection, but it offers layers of protection which a finisher does not have. Now the next most common question that I get here is, do I need a heat gun? Again, in our last video, if you saw that a while ago, we used just a heat gun and I didn't really explain, and again, we're always learning, so I'm always trying to update this for you guys. You don't want to use heat anytime you're using acrylic paint, which is almost every time when we're working with shoes, whether it's Angelus or Jacquard. The heat's going to make that brittle, and I know it seems fun to speed it up and get through it, but then your shoe just falls apart. Again, with the scratch resistant sealer, it's only as flexible as your layers of paint underneath it, because everything needs to move as one, and if your paint starts cracking, it's going to come through to your sealer. So to recap for you guys here, you can use a hair dryer on a low setting with no heat. Again, we just want air moving across the surface of the shoe or whatever part that we're working on. You can use a fan as well. The same concept, just set up your fan and put your shoes, a foot or two in front of it and just let that cool air blow over it, or you can allow it to air dry, but again, no heat for this process. Another question that we commonly get is, can I use it on leather? So you're probably familiar that we can use it on synthetic materials, and it's perfect for sports fleece if you're making shoes for yourself, friends, or athletes and you want them to hold up and look good for the pictures. However, when it comes to leather, there's not a huge purpose to put it on there, but if you need some protection and you're finding that you're scuffing in certain areas, especially on the inside of your shoe, you can 100% use it on leather safely. Again, we wouldn't layer it in this case like we show in the tutorial video, but I would simply just use it more like a finisher where you put it on at the end and do 2 or 3 light coats just to get some good protection on there. Again, you're not going to get the same protection as if we did it on the rubber and did the layering process in the tutorial, but it's going to offer, again, more protection than a regular finisher would. Now the next 2 questions I'm going to go ahead and combine into one part because we cover it in the tutorial extensively, but those questions are there other alternatives to the Bulldog Adhesion Promoter? I know I use that a lot and I always talk about it, and we'll cover that, as well as airbrushing. Can I send this through an airbrush, or do I need to hand paint it? And you can 100% use other alternatives to Bulldog. As long as you find something that's an adhesion promoter for plastics and rubber, again, you can usually find these at automotive stores. But other brands we have linked down below, you can buy directly from Amazon, whether you want the Bulldog Adhesion Promoter or the other ones we use. Those other ones that we use and recommend are SEM sand free. There's also a Duplicolor adhesion promoter, again, all linked below in Amazon with free shipping. You can get it right to your door. And I believe 3M also makes an adhesion promoter for rubber and plastic. The only one we haven't experimented with personally, again, because Bulldog has always worked for us and we've never had an issue, so I've never changed it, is Angelus Too Hard. I've heard mixed reviews from people DMing me that have used it, and the only issue is I haven't done it myself personally, so I can't really troubleshoot. So we really recommend staying with one of those aerosol ones, the SEM Sand Free, the Duplicolor Adhesion Promoter, the Bulldog, or the 3M. As far as airbrush, you can click over to our tutorial video and I have a timestamp there as well if you're really in a crunch. But to cover that, yes, you can 100% use it in an airbrush, and we almost recommend it, especially for these harder areas like these heel tabs that people will be customizing, or anything with a lot of texture like the Jordan 4 wings or the soles of 11s, or anything with a little texture. If you're trying to hand paint, it's going to be very tough to get these layers smooth here, and then when you come up to this Jumpman in the air and all these little ridges here on the back on the top of this, it's going to be very tough to try and get that sealer in your paint very flat. So putting this in an airbrush is perfect because you can get that perfectly smooth coat, let it dry, and just come back and hit it again. And it's going to speed that application of the sealer in the paint up very quickly. I'll normally just take my sealer and paint and just switch it on my airbrush and go back and forth like the tutorial shows. The other question that we cover in the tutorial as well is, what do I need to mix that with? Do I need too thin? Do I need a reducer? Do I need a thinner? You're 100% fine just using water, as scratch resistant sealer was formulated around a water base. You don't want to oversaturate it and stretch it too thin, but just add a little bit of water at a time, turn up your PSI, and just wait until it sprays in your airbrush. Again, we have a really good demonstration example in that tutorial video of how to know when it's spraying just right through your brush, and the little intricacies with the different airbrushes and compressors and things like that. And guys, there you have it, the most common questions that we see day in and day out in our DMs, emails, comments, all that stuff. If I missed anything, again, if I sent you here from Instagram or Facebook or however you got here, drop a comment down below, as we're very active in responding. And it also kind of helps people for a reference. If we upload those comments, comment back and figure out different issues that we're having, we can work through those, and we'll probably personally respond if it's an issue that we're aware of. If not, other people always chime in, as we have an awesome community here of people that are growing and learning just like you. So feel free to drop a comment. Don't don't be shy, and if you have any issues, we can work them out down in the comments. But till next time, I'll catch you guys later.